Hey, what's up, DS3TV? I can see you haven't subscribed to the channel. It's kind of weird. You should subscribe. I mean, you know, we got some good content here. And also, go to the Twitch that's in the link down in the description. Link is probably right here under me. And yeah, should do all of that. And yeah, please subscribe. Get to see me have hot sauce that I don't really want to have when we get to 10,000. So subscribe. What is up, DS3TV? We are back for another video. This one is going to be our Claws OP by TierZoo. This one's going to be a pretty good one. And yeah, let's get into it. This should be a good one. Also, I have some really important news actually that's going to be coming up it should be coming up pretty soon. Working out some kinks, but you know, you guys can feel free to guess it in the comments, in the comment section, what's going on. But yeah, some pretty good news, yeah, pretty big news. And yeah, let's get into the video in 3, 2, 1. Wow, that was quick. That was really quick.
Snake, are you okay?
Honestly, it'd be so sick to be a bird because yeah, like they have like the best, strategy honestly out of everybody in the game.
When speccing your character, it's important to choose equipment that integrates well with your chosen build's combat style and minimizes its inherent vulnerabilities. Weapons like horns and fangs are capable of inflicting massive damage, but using them in battle can leave a player vulnerable to counterattacks, and their value is mostly limited to 1v1 situations. Balancing the risk and damage potential of launching an attack is a key strategic consideration when equipping any type of weapon. So today we'll discuss one that comes as a standard feature on many of the most viable builds in the game: Claws. Claws are versatile, close-range weapons that can be used for offense or defense without sacrificing much in terms of mobility. They do require the user to get somewhat close to an enemy to launch an attack, but due to the low end lag on most standard slashing and swiping claw strikes, these tend to be one of the safest attack options a player has access to. Unlike some other weapons, claws can usually be regenerated if damaged, allowing them to be used freely with—
Oh, I didn't know that. That's actually crazy. So they can regenerate their claws. I don't think I genuinely knew that, or I might have just forgot.
minimal risk. Claws can be used against multiple enemies at once if the build has decent mobility, making them an excellent choice for generalists and tanks alike. They can also be specialized into a variety of secondary perks that allow the user to climb, dig, or run at extreme speeds without slipping. Claws can be optimized for piercing, slashing, or crushing damage depending on which basic type you spec into. While some members of the arthropod faction have tiny hooked claws that are used for the mobility perks alone, others equip pincher-type claws called Keelay that can inflict massive crushing damage.
Instant claws feel really, really weird when they're on you. Just a heads up if you ever want to touch an insect or whatever that has little tiny claws, they feel really, really weird.
The size of Keelay relative to the user's body varies between build classes, but they can be used in combat even on the smaller end due to the additional perk of being able to immobilize opponents. Crustacean builds like crabs and lobsters can use claws to crush or dismember prey, a devastating attack if it connects, though it can be fairly easily dodged by more mobile players. Scorpions can use their claws to inflict knockback or as a physical barrier to keep an enemy away from their vitals, but they also enable them to use an extremely powerful grappling combination move. While an enemy is immobilized in their claws, scorpions use their flexible stingers to inflict massive piercing and venom damage. This attack is more effective than crushing alone, but the trade-off between physical power and venom potency means that some scorpions are still weak against builds that can deflect or withstand their stings. Instead of modifying entire limbs into crushing pinchers, many tetrapod builds can equip individual claws to each digit and then use them to inflict piercing or slashing damage. Reptile and mammal builds that spec into claws usually equip them to all 4 limbs, using them for combat as well as their broad array of secondary functions. Tetrapod builds in earlier expansions experimented with a variety of claw specializations, with Therizinosaurus dumping the most evolution points into the trait of any build in history. These giant curved claws were primarily
Oh my gosh, those are like gigantic. Why?
used to hook and pull vegetation in order to access the best loot, but they served the secondary function of being used to attack or intimidate predators in a similar strategy to that of anteaters in the current meta. Megatherium is another example of a build that
I always forget about anteaters until like I see an anteater, and then I'm like, oh yeah, those exist.
went all in on claws, but theirs were specialized to withstand the impacts of intense digging, and thus were much more powerful in combat as a result. Although Megatherium were large enough to repel most enemies using intimidation alone, succeeding in a meta where Smilodon were the apex predators meant that their claws needed to be ready for serious action when necessary. While Thenocerosaurus and Megatherium are no longer playable builds, the basic Tetrapod Claw specializations that they pioneered are still influential in today's meta. While some mammal variants spec into nails or hooves instead, claws are still an extremely common limb equipment choice and are used for everything from climbing and foraging to attacking enemies. Digging is a common specialization for mammal players, with builds like the armadillo and anteater leveraging their claws to access hard-to-reach resources. At the extreme end of this ability, moles use their long, thick claws and sensory modifications to complete their entire playthroughs in subterranean maps, where they can farm out invertebrate players for XP. Other mammal builds spec into lighter claws to preserve dexterity and use them more in a generalist fashion, but this means they can only inflict minor scratch damage in combat situations. The cloven hooves of even-toed ungulate builds like pigs and deer technically are claws as well, which add cutting edges to already powerful limbs.
That makes sense. I just never have seen it. I've never seen a deer do this. This is a power pose. Hopefully I can make this like a thumbnail. This is a power pose right here. Oh my god.
And increase the damage inflicted by kicks. Mammals in the Carnivora faction all have claws, but only some are fully dependent on them to take down enemies. Felids have extremely sharp claws that retract when not in use, conserving their durability and allowing them to move silently when preparing to ambush an opponent. These claws provide additional traction and therefore movement speed when extended, but more importantly, they greatly increase both the damage and grappling capability of these felids. This grappling can be used in a deadly combination, where claws immobilize an opponent so the user can safely inflict lethal bite damage. They are also remarkably effective for climbing, which opens up access to areas of the map that other carnivore builds can't reach. With some of the best speed and power stats in
Yeah, that's why it would suck to be like, it would probably not be the best to be a lion. Honestly, lepers I would assume that lepers get like more of their kills, like like not more of the kills, less of their kills taken from them because they can just go up into a tree. I think I'm thinking of Jack. I don't know the real difference of it, but I think it's either like leopards or jaguars. They go up into trees and stuff. Like with because they're able to climb. So it's like you would have a less likely chance of getting your things taken from you.
the game, felids are absolute killing machines that use claws to decimate bird and mammal player bases. For builds which lack the ability to retract their claws, the repeated contact with the ground causes them to become dull and less useful for climbing or combat, but they do still provide solid mobility bonuses. Since bird forelimbs are modified into wings, most avian builds can only equip functional claws to their feet.
He did that on purpose. That was a malicious intent. Oh my god, that was good though. That was a smart move. I mean, I know most birds are pretty smart, so yeah, that makes sense. But that was insane.
Hoatzins have the unique ability to equip claws to their forelimbs that are used for climbing, but this ability is shed at higher levels in favor of flight, and all other birds are restricted to hind limb claws only. While this may seem like a limitation, members of the raptor faction use their claws and wings in conjunction to carry out some of the deadliest ambush attacks in the game. Their absolutely busted sensory abilities and mobility stats allow them to attack before an opponent can even detect their presence, impaling them with sharp talons before they have time to react and counterattack. However, raptor legs are relatively short and their wings can't deal much damage in their own right, which limits their ability to counterattack when an enemy launches an attack on the ground or from behind, in a major departure from the typical avian playstyles.
But also something that birds do, which I actually do respect, is like they'll just drop it from a high height just to let it like die, so that way they don't have to worry about it, and they'll just keep dropping it. So basically, they're just gonna let gravity do most of the work if like their prey is struggling too much, and they'll just let them die.
Some birds dump evolution points into their legs and feet at the expense of their flight ability. This strategy hinges on having a high enough run speed to evade most enemies, and enough power in their legs to disembowel enemies with dagger-like claws when challenged.
I have never seen that type of a bird, because I can't think of the name. I've never seen that type of a bird do that. I know it starts with a C. But I just can't think of the name. But yeah, I've never seen that type of bird just fight. Insane.
Both types of avian builds can be viable against certain opponents, but their inability to inflict much damage with their wings leaves them vulnerable to rushdown and more powerful builds, and underscores the benefits of having claws equipped to all 4 limbs. Claws are an excellent weapon choice for players with the flexibility and limb lengths needed to maximize their threat range. But even on less mobile builds, they're still well worth the investment. These versatile weapons are at their best when they're used either as a safe, non-committal attack to chip away at an opponent, or as part of a grappling combination move that anchors an opponent in place, while additional damage is inflicted by either teeth or stingers. As the top tier claw users, felids are definitely OP, as they have pretty much the perfect setup to maximize the utility of their highly specialized claws. So don't expect to immediately skyrocket up the tier list the moment you spec into the Claws trait, as the Felid class may be a bit of an outlier. However, Claws are still a valuable addition to almost any build that can equip them, and cost very little in terms of evolution.
I saw this video like about 2 weeks ago, and I remember dying laughing at it. I'm just it's such a good video. Like he really wanted he or she really wanted the bird seed
points, considering how many new options and strategies they can add to a character. On the subject of claws, you may have noticed that I didn't discuss one of the game's most famous claws in this video. On that note, I have a bit of an announcement. I've been secretly working on something big, my own 3D animation studio. I want to make one of the best educational wildlife shows ever, and finally answer the types of questions that I constantly get asked. Who would win in a fight between... well, I mean, take your pick. So far, I've been limited in what I've been able to show on this channel.
That is insane. What? So he's... okay. I'm happy. I'm ready to see what he does with this.
Since many animals never meet, and are separated by either distance or time. Through the magic of 3D animation, I want to bring these confrontations to life for all of you to witness. The first episode will pit one of history's most lethal claws against one of prehistory's most deadly fangs. I've been working super hard, and although the first episode isn't quite ready, it'll be premiering on NEBULA soon, and I don't want you to miss it. Many of you know by now that TierZoo has been a longtime partner of NEBULA, a creator-owned streaming service whose mission is to empower creators to make high-budget content that they couldn't otherwise. Well, I'm no exception, and I'm really shooting for the moon here. So please, check out the sponsor of today's video, the Nebula Curiosity Stream Bundle. Curiosity Stream has thousands of amazing non-fiction titles on there already for you to check out while
Alright, so I guess that's the end of the video. I'll put up that part right there. I think if I go a little bit further... wait a second.
already one of the best deals in...
Alright, and sorry about that, the camera cut out, but yeah, have a good rest of your day. Talk to you guys in the next video, and also, yeah, look at my Patreons in the comment section down below. It's in the description down below, and also look at my Twitch because it's there in the same spot in the description. And also, yeah, subscribe to the channel. I want to get 10,000 subscribers, so you guys can see me suffer and have the 10,000, and have the not 10,000, the the hot ones hot sauce. So yeah, talk to you guys in the next video, and yeah, peace.